Chilling video released early today.
South Carolina police say Officer Slager pulled over Walter Scott's car for a broken taillight Saturday. What happens a short time after is all caught on video by a bystander.
Disturbing graphic images captured by Phaeton Santana, a 23-year-old Dominican-born barber who was simply on his way to work.
As the result of that video and the bad decision made by our officer, he will be charged with murder.
If convicted, Slager could be sentenced to the death penalty.
He needs to know that that wasn't an animal that he killed. He was my son.
So you think that's what happened? That's why he initially ran from police?
I do think it might have been something in his past. An outstanding warrant, maybe for child support, but it's still not a reason to be gunned down. I couldn't believe that a traffic stop could go from a stop to a taser to a shot. I just couldn't believe it.
When I first saw the video, I was pissed off, shocked, and fascinated that it was caught on tape. I offered my video skills to help indict the officer. Finding frame 394 was an accident. The work that I'm doing in a legal setting would be considered the work of an expert witness. I am not an expert witness. Prior to a month ago, I had no idea that this job even existed. Sometimes I zone out when photocopying something. I stare transfixed at a shiny bar of light scanning over my textbook. I'm looking at this thing back and forth, and I'm trying to figure out how's that scan turning into a page. You open up a magazine and you look at an image. I look at the pixel arrangement of how it's printed. I just obsess over all the finer details till it gets granular. And it's that for everything. This one was an experiment made in 3D software with a fake sun, so I knew where the sun was at any given time, poked holes in it, and it projects a dot matrix of the time of day. And then I've got the final plan for a Burning Man, a giant one, but that keeps getting pushed aside.
The officer is seen handcuffing Scott as he remains face down after the shooting. In addition, the video appears to capture Officer Slager planting a taser gun next to Scott.
A cop actually planting evidence? That's crazy. You never get that on camera. Every cinematographer, I'd messed up enough footage. So image stabilization has always been part of the process. The New York Times reported that an object was planted beside the body. I just wanted to know, was it a taser or was it not a taser? I can figure this out pretty quickly. Stabilize the footage, post it to Reddit, and shit goes bonkers. It became the most commented GIF ever posted to Reddit. I was reading what everyone was saying about it. Lots of hatred, this cop should fry, electric chair fry. I realized I pretty much fueled hatred. I didn't like this guy, but now people want death on him. I felt pretty guilty. I knew there was important information in all the shakiness. So if I had captured this footage myself and I wanted to present it to people, I would want to make it as clear as possible in order to communicate what happened as clearly as possible. I made a timeline of wrestle on the ground, the shooting, dropping of the taser, going to the body and cuffing it, highlighting key moments, all stabilized, telling a clear narrative. I pretty much lost track of time, and my friends told me I was weird. I just wanted to know, did he plant a taser? Turns out he didn't. He planted a taser for 30 seconds. It's more like he would have planted a taser had a camera not been there. So why did he plant a taser? One of my next questions was, who dropped the taser? There's a part in the video where the taser falls backwards and it's bouncing on the ground. It's hard to see. You'd have to watch it 4 or 5 times to see an item, and that's only if you're watching it in high def. Most people watched it on their iPhone or on an iPad. There's a stainless steel part of the handle. When it's being thrown, it's sort of rotating through the air, and then sometimes it's reflecting more of the sky and it picks up as a bright patch. This frame maps one more clear point in the ballistics trajectory, which means that the officer didn't throw it. It means that when the officer was unholstering his weapon, that Walter Scott threw it.
220, shot fired. Subject get down. He grabbed my taser.
But did the suspect, Walter Scott, really grab the officer's taser? Frank Piazza is an expert in video forensics.
I don't see anything dangling down. If there is, we sure can't see it.
So I built that in 3D because I wanted to know, does it make sense? Is it gonna feel like a thrown item once that's animated? This is where I feel bad because I'm almost building a case for someone I initially didn't like. It is entirely possible that the officer didn't see the taser being thrown. The Supreme Court states that if you feel threatened for your life, you can shoot to kill. You only have like a certain field of vision. You don't see the throw and you've already gone for your weapon, he's gonna think it's a threat. As I figured this out, I started posting some of it, and generally no one cared. Reddit was great for perpetuating the "this cop is evil" story, and it was awful for telling the more nuanced story. You want to be able to say, this person is evil, this person is not evil. This is not that, this is real life. Someone is kind of lying, kind of not lying. You have someone running because it makes sense to run, but it's against the law, and then it's a mess. I contacted the attorney of Walter Scott first. Never really heard back. And then I reached out to the FBI,
Provide a crime tip to the FBI,
which was like basically phoning air. Andy Savage was the last person I contacted.
We've handled many high-profile cases, but to me, every case is important, and I work hard to get the best possible result under difficult circumstances.
He said my work was 100 times better than the FBI. Apparently the FBI did a sloppy job. Anytime someone flatters me, I just assume they want something out of me. Andy wanted me to sign a retainer, and I didn't want to. Money influences people. I gotta keep this pure, academic, leave money out of it. I don't want that leveled against me. And explaining that to people, and they're like, are you out of your mind? It's a job, you just take the money, you do it, you do the thing, and then like society goes on. I'm like, no, I have a certain sellout point, but the truth is the foundation of everything. Andy Savage wants to meet with me. He has information I want. The only thing I have to my advantage to getting information out of him is that there's things I haven't told him. Going to South Carolina, home of the Civil War. I'm like techno nerd, he's like lawyer nerd. It'll be a very weird conversation. The worst case scenario is that I make things worse. Like I start the next conspiracy, or this somehow fuels a pro-white agenda, or it's like, yeah, it turns out this guy said this, and therefore it's true, and not really step through how it came to the conclusions. Because just that piece of info on its own is so charged.
Everybody in America is entitled to the same respect and the same application of the law. We believe that firmly. That's why we're in this case, not because we like Slager. We saw that a fellow lawyer abandoned his client in the time of greatest need. We then accepted this case. We're not getting paid one penny. And Madam Pocketbook right there can tell you we've spent over $105,000 to date. So your contact with us was when we internally were starting to realize what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those statements, white man kills unarmed black man after traffic stop, that's true. But that's not a true narrative. It's a false narrative.
I worry that like I fit the narrative and therefore in your mind I'm correct.
You're a layman. Hell, you don't even live in the United States. You have nothing to do with this case at all. Nothing.
No, other than...
You have not the first hour of credit in college or law school, yet you looked at that video and said, oh, there's more to this video than just what's been editorialized and put on TV. Let me look at the rest of it. It's so important that you're independent from the American narrative of police misconduct, where the default position, the presumptive decision is that if a white cop shoots a black man, it's unlawful.
I think the public perception is that it doesn't, you know, there are these rules of escalation for police and how they're trained, but a lot of people are like, well, those are wrong. You know, he's still shot in the back.
If your taser weapon is removed from you, you lose possession and control of it. Lethal force is not only suggested, but you're told to use the lethal force to regain that. There's Scott's DNA all over the taser. You got the blood all over Slager's shirt. So we're quite satisfied that a jury will be able to see that Scott was not the angel that they thought he was. But there's enough on the video where you can tell that Scott's on top of Slager, only because of the clothing that they were wearing.
Yeah, maybe we'll go to that frame, because my analysis of the video is that the smear that makes it look like Scott is on top of Slager, that's the camera smear that only shows up in a couple frames. In my view, it was Walter Scott's on his side and Slager is just slightly on top of him. And then there's a moment of one person getting up or on the other, but I don't know what.
I can show you what the FBI did. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but I'd rather deal with what he has.
There's a number of other things in the video as well, which I have not talked about and I haven't mentioned.
Can we go look at the video?
Yeah, I have it on my laptop. We can load it on the screen.
And I've got to call into the jail to see if we can't get Slager so that you can talk to him if you'd like. Just thank Dan and all that.
Thanks.
So I'd go.
Dan did some transcription of the in-car of Michael's dash cam when he did the initial stop. So he was trying to see if it was how close his transcript was.
Oh, so I do know something you don't know then.
A lot of things we don't know, Dan. What's the latest thing you've discovered we don't know that you know?
It's not latest. The video I'm about to show you is like most of the work I think was done 5 months ago. Maybe you got a different video player.
So Dan, are we looking at yours?
Yeah, this is sort of the compilation.
All right. I have not seen this. Call, see if you can find Steve. See if you can get down here.
Steve Russell?
Stop here, Dan,
Sure.
because this is how Andy interprets this, and I want you to correct me, please.
Sure.
I interpret this as two individuals.
Yeah.
Neither one who's standing.
Neither are standing on their feet.
But I think there's a point on here where you can definitely see the green over the blue. Now, you think that's a smear? The bottom line for me is contact. Now, to get Slager on bottom would be interesting and it would be helpful, but it's not necessary. We don't need precision in who was on top, who was on bottom, who hit him with the right fist to the left jaw. I mean, we don't need all that specifics. What we need to show really is the contact, that there was an assault.
So this is the point that most of the media cuts to. I'll just quickly jump forward. So this is the...
Okay, so this is the critical spot
Yeah.
right here.
So this smear is what I think is consistent with it's like a metallic handle, and I think that's a glint of light off the taser. I'm thinking back to almost like tag when I'm a kid. You throw the object in the opposite direction to get a running head start. If Slager saw it, he would have had to go back and pick it up and then continue chasing. But if he didn't see the taser being thrown, then he would have thought Scott's holding it. So he calls it in saying he grabbed my taser, but then he goes over to find out that the taser's no longer there.
That's it. Surprise, surprise.
Hello?
This is Dan. Dan is the fellow from Toronto. Remember early on, he sent us some video work. I really just wanted to talk to you and tell you that we're working on it. Dan came down here on his own. He switched sides. He's a Benedict Arnold. He started out on their side until they looked at the video, and then he switched sides. Apparently, Scott didn't want to hear from him anymore once he told him what the whole picture was. Tell him the story.
So originally I was trying to, make things look worse for you, and that went viral. I think there was 6,000 comments that were not in your favor, to put it nicely. Yeah, and then I just sort of went down the rabbit hole of what else did I miss in this video. So what's odd is that the clearer the video gets, the more, is innocent the right?
Well,
the more consistent it is with your statements,
Right.
the cleaner the video. Which normally it's you want a video of a crime to not exist, or a video
Yeah,
of...
we want your video to be the best it can be. We don't want mud. So what Dan has showed us this morning is very compelling.
But I'm not opposed to switching sides again.
Well, TSA might not be his biggest problem if he says that again.
All right, thank you, guys. Good to meet Dan. Good to meet everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, look for a maple leaf under your pillow.
Oh, yeah. That's a good difference.
Canadian
Okay,
Tooth Fairy. All right.
All right.
Bye, Michael.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Since April 7th, he's been held in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement means that he has no ability to have a social conversation with anyone. Within 30 days of his arrest, he had his only child, little boy, Isaac. Conversation with him today about his wife is that she's been hospitalized recently. The majority of it was the stress of the situation. We get to know the family and we get to know all the circumstances of their life other than this one event. And you just have a different perspective.
Benedict Arnold, I have no idea who that is. I still haven't looked that up. Said it was someone who switched sides. I don't like that terminology of switching sides because I'm not on a side. I don't want to befriend a murderer. I haven't told him all my work. I did give him the main bulk of it though. Each car has a dash, so there's gonna be recordings of like people talking. So I would know the testimony as it came out. I don't have that. Like, that's what I've asked Andy Savage. I don't think he wants to give it to me. That's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. If I had all the info, I'd know whether or not I'd want to be involved.
You know, a lot of people in my generation try to put you all down, saying it is like inconsistent with what we did. It is absolutely consistent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's time.
And it's
been time.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
And
I'm
the
so
thing
glad
about,
to
the thing
see
I love
it.
about you guys is that you stay focused.
Yes, sir.
I remember back in 1966, it was like, be patient, be patient.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I hate those words.
no. He died in 1822.
Yep.
And ever since then, they were saying be impatient.
Yes, sir. We just had some protesters shot in Minneapolis yesterday, and so we're taking the hits left and right.
You really are doing the right thing and the right way. Just stay true to it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're in my prayers.
Appreciate you. Enjoy. For sure.
So I just like go down this rabbit hole of like frame by frame, and then I realized that that Walter Scott actually threw the taser. So he had the taser in his hand, but he threw it in his blind spot as he's drawing his weapon. I don't know this 100%. I wasn't there. I wasn't in his head. But it's highly, highly likely that he shot him in the back thinking he had his taser. So you get this bizarre narrative.
It is a bizarre narrative. It's one of those narratives that which is interesting because Faden, Walter, and Michael Slager, you know, are the three people that were there. And so I like the radical narrative. I like us being able to think about telling stories ourselves. And then I like us to be able to like, be in tune with the reality of things at the same time. The fact that Michael Slager pulled his trigger 8 times and the holes in the back of Walter Scott. Those are the types of things that, you know, can't be interpreted. With media, there's so many different narratives that then nobody knows what the truth is. We all of a sudden become really relativistic, like the truth doesn't really matter, as if like the truth can be argued. There's an element of trusting your gut. The first time I saw the video, we were sitting in the car. You know, it was some of the Scott family and Mr. Santana. Hearing the shots and then see the members of the Scott family processing it. There's not many words for that, you know?
This is the vicinity. I've built this place digitally. I've moved the trees around. Weird being here.
Remount Road next to the Muddy Man and the power station. I'm at the Riverton next farm shop. Where are you at now? 320, get that shot fired. Subject is down. You grab my taser. This one has 223 shots fired. Grab the tracer, subject is down. And not motivated.
Had this been almost any European country, Walter Scott would not have in the back of his mind the threat of going to jail while being pulled over. The system in Europe is you don't have someone going to jail for 6 months, building up child support, leaving, finding out your job is lost, given to someone else, and then you're poor, and then you have court fees. Some people have reported that he was only earning $10,000 a year. How do you pay child support earning $10,000 a year? It's not that he doesn't want to pay it, it's that he can't pay it. And then if he gets pulled over, he's going to jail. That isn't a system that works. If the jury does take the officer's side, there's certainly going to be this perception that justice doesn't exist. It's a joke. If you've got a good enough lawyer, if you were a cop, there's no such thing as justice.
We already know the truth. We already know that this has been happening. This has been happening for 400 years. It might be a colossal event for folks that still have faith in the justice system, but this system of justice has never been just to us. Like, this is not getting better. It's not getting better. More people know, but it's not getting better.
We're getting to a point of fatigue of trying to analyze individual videos of individual cases, arguing about, in this moment of the video, I see this, and in this moment, I see that. We can't keep having that kind of argument. Democracy depends on faith in institutions. And when you have institutions where people begin to lose faith that those institutions will treat them fairly, that the power that they vest into those institutions will be equally exercised over all citizens, then that is a danger for democracy itself.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
We're losing sight of the larger sociological and historical moment that we are witnessing as a country.